Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program Teacher Certification course. My name is William. If you're joining us here at the Peaceful Solution headquarters, and wherever you are, please be seated. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you for making it here again. I see you set your clocks ahead last night. You managed your time well, and we lost an hour of sleep, right? But don't worry, in another 6 months or so, you'll get it back. Okay. Why are they still doing that? I don't know. So we're going to be picking up in the responsibility unit. If you're joining us online, you can go ahead and at the top of the Facebook page there's a drop-down menu that has all the books we've been covering. We are in the responsibility unit, which is the 5th unit in the intermediate series. We are on, and I'm chapter 4, tick-tock time management. Amazingly, on a day that we had to set our clocks ahead, right? Okay, so we are on page 66 is where Chris left off last class. The heading is Time Can Be Your Enemy or Your Friend. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Hopefully getting into wants versus needs as well. Learning about the steps of making time our ally or our friend. Okay, we're going to be getting into that. Hopefully we'll be able to cover these couple pages today. I'm not going to promise anything, but we'll try. Depends if we manage our time wisely, right? Okay, so I guess before we go any further, let's go ahead and go back to the step that we're going to be covering in the procedure here. Lesson Plan 4, page C. And we'll be starting on step number 3, where it says, explain that without evaluating what activities and obligations need to be accomplished on a daily basis, it's easy to leave important duties undone. Have students read the sections Time Can Be Your Enemy or Your Friend and Wants versus Needs, found on pages 66 to 67 at home. Stress that the effective use of time involves prioritizing, planning, and scheduling. Now, I'm not going to ask you to read these sections at home because, this is the certification class, so we need to go over this material, right? So we're going to be covering pages 66 to 67, and we don't have anything on the screen here, so I can see the slides. It's black. Okay. Yeah, I got some slides. I do have some visuals, but I don't have a picture yet. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of a review on page 63. I believe Catan started off the chapter, and, it talked about how at the top of page 63, responsible people use time wisely. Responsible people use time wisely. And I do have a visual on that, if it comes up. There it is. Okay, I can see it up there. So use your time wisely. Responsible people use it wisely. And remember, responsible. What does responsible mean? Well, let's go back, because we're looking at the responsibility unit. Let's go back to chapter 1. If I have that page. Isn't that amazing? Well, I don't have page 1 in this book. I guess I wasn't responsible enough to look at my to make sure I had it. Pages are falling out. Do you have a book, Mike? I want to give the book definition of the word responsible. I do have it in the back of the book somewhere. Page 1. Yeah, page 1. If we can turn to page 1. Note to the student. And actually, let's look at page 3 because it gives us a more concise definition. In the middle of the page on page 3, you can count on me, chapter 1. It says responsibility like respect and self-control, must be developed over time. Remember, Catan likes to talk about development. Okay, he uses that word development a lot, about how we develop these character traits. They take time, it takes effort, it takes practice to be able to develop something. And it says, being responsible means you are someone others can count on to fulfill your duties and obligations, but most of all, you can count on yourself to make choices that are positive and supportive of your moral character development. And responsibility, we learn it through, as the next paragraph shows, we learn how to be responsible through everyday tasks, interactions, and experiences. And the tasks that we sometimes think are boring because they take us away from the fun things we want to do are often the ones that teach us how to be responsible. And that's what we're going to be covering also, the importance of, putting aside the fun things when it's time to do the things that we have to do, wants versus needs, okay? Very important to learn the difference between the two if you want to learn to be responsible. Okay, now let's go ahead and go back to page 66. Actually, 63 is what I was covering. We're going over a little bit of what Catan went over, because we wanted to get into this definition of time management, and I think I have it on the next slide if you want to put that up. On page 63, it talks about the ability to effectively manage your duties, chores, activities, and leisure time is called time management. Time management plays a very important role in being responsible. And it's interesting, that, in the self-control unit, we learn about anger management, So we learned in the peaceful solution that we don't only have to manage our emotions and manage, particularly our anger, etc., but we also have to manage time. And time is an interesting thing, When you get old, well, I guess when you're younger, you want time to go fast, when you're young. You want to grow up, you want to hurry up and, get to be a certain age, or, you're waiting for some event in your life, possibly you want to go on a camping trip or something, so you're really looking forward to it, and you're waiting, you're looking at the clock, watching the hours go by, and you're anticipating, and you can't wait for the time to go by, and, you're always wanting time to speed up and go fast when you're young. Okay, and you don't really think much about time, when you're young. You don't think much about it unless you're wanting something, right? Or you're wanting to get out of something like detention. You're at school and you're in detention and you're looking at the clock, waiting for 4 o'clock to get there, so you can go and be paroled out of your detention. But time when you're young isn't that important, but you want it to speed up. But when you get older, it's a little bit different. Just to share on a personal note, I think my father passed away when he was 73, 74, somewhere in there, pretty young, not that old. My grandfather, about the same age. So I'm 62, so, you start thinking a little bit more when you get around these ages, a little older, you start thinking about mortality. Sometimes you're laying in your bed at night and you're wondering, like I do sometimes, I wonder, well, how much longer do I have? Kind of winding down, right? Don't want to, but, we're winding, sometimes we feel like, well, how much time do I have left? And what do I want to accomplish in that little time I have left, right? Where before you didn't really think much about it, But you do start to when you get a little bit older. You start to think about those things. Can't think too much about it, because if you do, you'll get depressed, right? You want to just keep moving, and you don't want to slow down when you get older. You really don't. I mean, your body sometimes wants to, but I try not to. I want to keep my mind working. I want to keep learning things. I want to keep grasping on to as much knowledge as possible, and then try to put that knowledge into practice. Okay, and that's the important thing, is that's where wisdom comes from, is putting the peaceful solution knowledge that we're learning in these books into practice in our everyday life. And so anyway, if we can look at the next visual, I think, yeah, that's where we're going to start tonight on page 66, about time can be your enemy or your friend. Now, we're going to learn some interesting things about time, okay, that we don't really think too much about. And I'm going to show you how much time we actually don't have left. Okay? We tend to think, when you're young, and I'm speaking, particularly to the adolescents right now, the young people. You think, well, I got a long time left. I got many, many years left. I got an infinite amount of time left. Well, none of us really know how much time we have left, We don't know what's going to occur from one moment to the next, do we? We're not in control of, other people's actions around us, so anything can take place. But we are in control of what we do, right? We can protect ourselves in certain ways, but none of us really know, what the future holds in that respect. But we need to be very careful. Let's just say we're living in a very dangerous world. It says the passage of time is something that most people take for granted. Okay, they don't think too much about time. Okay, and like I said, when you get older, you do start to. We know that the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west. Many people try to squeeze in as many activities as they can into the daytime hours. For those of you who have busy lives, it may even seem as if time is your enemy, because you often run out of time before you run out of things to do. And I know I'm pretty great at always saying things like, man, I just didn't have enough time to do that. Like if I don't do something that I'm obligated to do or I'm supposed to do, I tend to make that excuse. Well, I didn't have enough time. But do we really not have enough time? Really, when we, at the end of the day, which we should do, we should evaluate the day and, kind of do a self-evaluation of our actions. Did we really use our time wisely? Did we really make the most of our time that day? Did we really schedule our activities appropriately so we didn't? So we did have enough time to do these other things that we claim we didn't have time to do? Kind of reminds me of Oscar Schindler, at the end of the movie, the Schindler's List, which is a pretty great movie if they took out the stupid sex scenes somebody threw in there for somebody's benefit. I don't know whose. But at the end, he's sitting there and he's talking to the people there that he had saved. He had saved quite a number of Hebrew people from being slaughtered in the Holocaust. He was, I guess he was making pots and pans and things like that. He had these Hebrew people that would come and work in his factory, and he would save them from having to go to the death camps. And at the end, he was like, at the end of the movie, he was having regrets. He was thinking, he was telling the man there, man, I could have done more. I could have done more. I could have, I wasted my money. I could have saved more money and I could have helped more people, So he had all these regrets. Even though he had helped all these people, he still had regrets. He still was like, I could have done more. Well, I think some of us feel that way with time sometimes, we really could have done more. We should have done more, but we tend to make excuses because we haven't really learned how to manage our time appropriately, and that's why we need the peaceful solution so much to teach us how to do that. And that's what we're going to be learning here in this chapter, where we can make time our friend instead of our enemy, right? And it says, let's go back to that passage. Okay, yeah, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so I want to talk about life expectancy. Okay, it's not something we think much about. Life expectancy meaning how long does the average person have to live in this day and age? Because I'm going to show you in Wikipedia under life expectancy that over the different eras of time, life expectancy or mortality has changed. You know, like for instance, just in the last 100 years, in 1900, life expectancy at birth was only 31 to 32 years. Okay, in 1900. Remember, that was back when they were having these plagues where, you know, you would catch the plague at a young age and you would die. So the life expectancy, because of all the wars that were taking place and the plagues that were hitting, the diseases, you know, the average age was 31 to 32 years. That's not very long. But then as time progressed, and it says in 1950, the world average was 45 to 48 years old. So you see it's increasing a little bit there. And in Europe, it says it was around 60 years. And then 2019 to 2020, in this modern time right here, in this era, 72 to 73 years is the average, okay? So it's jumped considerably since, you know, the early 1900s. You know, it's doubled, over doubled that. But the average, I looked at that and it said 72.6 to 73.2. So I said, okay, I'm going to go on the high end. I'm going to go 73. And I think I made the right choice by choosing 73, because I'll show you here in a few minutes, in a little while, how I know I did. Okay, so we're going to use 73 years. Let's just say we all have 73 years. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to break it down into hours, minutes, seconds, and then we're going to learn how we spend our time and how much time we really don't have. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So let's take an average of 73 years. Okay, let's say the average life 73 years. So I went from January 1st, 1951 to January 1st, 2024. That's 73 years. That's 26,663 days. Okay? That doesn't look like a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's, you know, a few thousand, but it doesn't seem very high. That's 876 months. Okay? Remember, there's 12 months in a year. You know, so 876 months. So that makes it even seem a little shorter, you know, right? There's 2,303,683,200 seconds. So you would have over 2 billion seconds to live if you were going to live to be 73. That's the average. You would have 38,394,720 minutes, okay, in your life if you live to be 73. You would have 639,912 hours at 73. You would have 3,809 weeks in your life if you live to be 73 years old. So that's breaking down to the 73 years. But let's look and see, how do we spend that 73 years? How do we actually spend it in many ways, so we can see that we really don't have as much time to get things done as we think we do? Let's go to the next visual. You got to have, on average, 7 hours of sleep per night. So 7 hours right there is gone, because you're in la-la land, you're in snooze land, right? So if you have to have 7 hours of sleep at night, at 73 years times 7, that's 186,641 hours. I'm sorry, is it hours? No. Go back to the last one again. Go back to the last one. So 69. Yeah, hours. Okay, so go back. Yeah, you subtract 186,641 hours because of sleep, which leaves you with 453,271 hours of waking time, of time being awake to get something done. to get whatever you have to get done. So that if you live to be 73 years old, that's 7,776.708 days sleeping. Out of your 26,663 days, you're going to have to subtract 7,776.708 days because you're asleep all those days, because you have 7 hours a day. So that only leaves you with 18,886 days if you live to be 73. Okay? All right. And let's go to the next visual. So now let's see how else we spend our time, because not only do we have to have 7 hours a night sleeping, it says how much time of an average life is spent waiting. According to a Timex survey, Americans wait on average of 20 minutes a day for the bus or train, 32 minutes whenever they visit a doctor, and 28 minutes waiting in security lines whenever they travel. Americans wait 21 minutes for a significant other to get ready to go out. Most Americans spend 13 hours annually waiting on hold for customer service. 13 hours on the phone waiting on customer service. Like you call, to get your phone bill adjusted or whatever else. You spend on average 13 hours a year waiting on hold on the phone. And unless you know how to, what they call multitask and do more than one thing at a time and don't just sit there like this, waiting on the person to, get you an answer, that's a lot of time that's being wasted that you don't have. It says the average American commuter spends 38 hours each year waiting in traffic. And you could probably make that a little bit longer in some cases. I've seen traffic, for instance, Austin, Texas. I don't know if you've ever been to Austin. The worst, absolutely worst traffic I've ever seen in my life. Okay? I-35 just sits still. The cars are just sitting still most of the day. Between the hours of, say, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., it just doesn't seem to be moving. Okay? And I don't know how people get to work on time. It's just like the worst mess I've ever seen. But at night, it's even worse when people get out of work. It's just like the cars are at a standstill. And you see that in a lot of major cities, and you think, how do people get to work on time? And do they ever get home to spend any time with their children and their loved ones? Because the way the traffic is in a lot of these places, they're spending 2 hours at night just trying to get home. Because a lot of times, there's accidents and there's people rubbernecking, they got to look over here to see what's going on, and they slow everybody else down. I remember when I lived in Houston, Texas, that's what they would call it. The lady that was doing the travel, they would have those reports, the air traffic, or not air traffic, but the traffic report, on the hour, and they'd tell you avoid this intersection. There's a lot of people rubbernecking, because they're looking at an accident over here on the side of the road, and they're slowing the whole city down basically because they want to look at something, and so a lot of time is just wasted, in sitting in your car just trying to get home. Let's go ahead and go look at the next visual. Okay, go back for a second. I want to make sure I covered all that there. Okay, no, go back. Okay, it says big city commuters average more than 50 hours waiting in traffic annually. So there's 50 hours right there that you, unless you can do something in your car while you're, in a lot of these cities, you're not allowed to be on your phone. You can't have your phone out in San Antonio, Texas, and the cops they're waiting for you to have that cell phone anywhere near you. You can't use it when you're driving. You can't be looking at it. You can't be talking to nobody. It's illegal. You can't use them. So it says Americans annually spend 37 billion hours waiting in line, according to the New York Times. That's collectively 37 billion hours waiting in line. So let's take their average here. they said that the average American spends 13 hours waiting on hold for customer service. So 13 times 73 is 949 hours waiting on hold for customer service in your 73-year span there. So there's more you can subtract from what you had, right, when we originally started. What I want you to see is how much time you really don't have to get done the things that are important for you to get done. Okay? Because a lot of this is just downtime. It's just wasted time. Sleeping. Now let's go to the bathroom now and see. Oh, not now, but let's go to the slide about the bathroom. Let's go to there we go. Let's look at how much time is spent in the bathroom. According to a bathroom habit survey, the average person spends 30 minutes in the bathroom daily. This is more than 182 hours per year for each individual. Another study found that 44% of Americans spend an hour or more every day in the bathroom. A survey of 2,000 British adults found that the average person will spend 416 days of their life in the bathroom. Okay, just think about that for a minute. 416 days, that's over a year in the bathroom alone. Okay? Don't know that you can get much done there, right? I'm talking about important things that you need to do. More specifically, men will spend 373 days or 23 minutes a day, and women will spend 456 days or 29 minutes per day in the bathroom. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock, right? The seconds are just ticking away. Every second that ticks away, guess what? It's gone. It's gone. You got less and less and less time as you go on. Every second counts. Every second counts. Okay, go back. Let's go to the next visual and let's see what else to throw in the mix here. So I was using the number 73, and on my feed on my computer while I was working on this popped up. It said 54 minutes ago, Washington Post. It says this singer dies at 73. So I thought, okay, I was on the right track, right? I don't even know who this guy is, but it said he died at 73, and to me that was like a sign to me that, yeah, that was the right number to use. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Let's see what else we're spending time on here. And teens, it says, spend an average of 4.8 hours on social media every day. 4.8 hours on social media, you know, whether it's MySpace or TikTok or what's the other ones, Facebook or Twitter, etc., right? So there's a lot of time spent there. And remember, the Peaceful Solution in 2003, when the book was written regarding the character unit and our Building Moral Excellence unit, which comes later down the line, you know, we gave averages. I think it was something in the average of 24 hours a week. Children were sitting in front of a television, 24 hours. I think it was 24 hours, almost 24 hours a week watching television alone, which is a whole day in front of a television set. Okay, but now, I don't know, you know, how many children actually sit at home and watch a TV. I'm sure they do at times, but a lot of time is spent just looking at the screen in their hand on their phone. And judging from what I've seen, they spend a lot of time doing that. And I think there's a big fight right now going on in Congress about TikTok. You know, this it's interesting they call it TikTok, right? Because TikTok, time management, you know, wasting time, not spending time wisely. And when you're a teenager, time counts. Time's important. Even when you're a teenager, because when you're a teenager, you still have responsibility. You still have you still have obligations that you need to fulfill, like doing your homework, doing your chores, etc., right? So you need to learn to do your time wisely, and that's why it's in the intermediate series to learn how to do so. Let's go to the next visual. Speaking of TikTok, it says, in TikTok, I guess, Time Magazine, I guess no pun intended, right? Time Magazine. says why TikTok's new time limit may not make a difference. In 2021, the average time kids and teens spent on TikTok grew to 91 minutes a day. And I think they have it now to where, that's about all they can. I mean, if you have the parental type control, or they don't lie about their age, and by the way, they lie about their age. These social media giants like Facebook and these other ones, not picking on Facebook by any means, but we used to do internet safety. We still do internet safety classes for elementary school students, mainly because, parents are giving their children's phones, okay, at a very young age. In fact, we asked, and I think I told you before, we went to teach a group of third graders, and we asked them how many of them had a phone. And every hand shot up in that class. In that auditorium, there was probably about 60 children sitting there, and only one didn't raise their hand. And most of them had iPhones. Third graders, they had better phones than I had, right? I was like, wow, man. Well, parents are giving them these phones, okay? And they're using them, and they're spending a lot of time on those phones, calling their friends. But I also showed you in a few other classes, I think might have been even the last class when I spoke, about what they're doing in school on their phones when they're supposed to be doing their work. They bring them into the school. They're watching pornography in school, okay, when they're supposed to be doing their work. Or they're texting one another, when they're supposed to be doing their work. Or they're watching videos on TikTok. Or they're watching reels on Facebook, which is another time waster. Trust me, I've fallen into that one trap before. I saw it one day. I saw a shark or something on reels, and I pushed the button to look at the reel, and they're like short clips, right? They're really fast clips, short. But it's like when you push one of them, and you go to the next one, you just scroll up, and there's another video. It's like next thing you know, you're just going around. You're just going from one to the next, 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 and pretty soon 30 minutes have gone by of nothing but wasted time. And it really is, for the most part, just a waste of time. Sitting there watching, animals get eaten up by another animal, or watching, the things they put on there are supposed to be exciting and some kind of violence or some kind of something like that, to attract the young people and keep them, or music clips and things like that. But boy, it's a real time waster, okay? We don't have much time, okay? I just showed you how much time we really don't have. We think we have all these, we do possibly have years left, but out of that time, remember, a lot of that time is spent doing other things that take you away from the most important things, okay, that you need to do. Okay, so let's go to the next visual. It says just over half of U.S. teenagers, 51%, report spending at least 4 hours a day using a variety of social media apps like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter. A Gallup survey of more than 1,500 adolescents finds. So 4.8, almost 5 hours a day on social media, and that's talking about these social media apps. That's not counting now the video games they're playing. It's not counting the movies they're watching on Netflix or whatever they're watching nowadays. I don't know if they still have HBO and all those, things they had that started coming out when I was getting a little bit older. I don't watch it anymore, so I don't really know other than what I read in the news. But I'm sure there's probably, as Catan said, there's probably 5,000 channels on your box that you can choose from, at least on your cable box. And for the most part, it's just a waste of time unless you choose wisely. If there's something that you could learn that's educational or something like that, I can see it, but I think for the most part, they try to go for ratings, and they try to go for thrills, Let's go to the next slide. And that time that you spend, you can't buy it back. I think Catan said it in his class. He said each second that goes by is a second lost. You can't gain it back. You can't go and buy time at Walmart or, one of these, big lots or any place like that. It's gone. We can't get it again. We can't use that time cannot be used again. So the only thing we can do now, if we've wasted a bunch of time, is redeem our time. Okay. In other words, do our best now to manage our time wisely to get done what we need to get done to develop a positive moral character, because we don't have much time to do it. But we have enough time, okay? We do have enough time. If we apply ourselves, we can do it. We can become the best. We can be the best that we can be through educating ourselves in the peaceful solution and practicing these things. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. See what else I had. I don't know if I had. Okay, so on page 66, I'm going to go into the middle paragraph there. It says, "Did you ever have a day when you had so many things to do that you forgot to do something that turned out to be very important? Without careful planning and scheduling, it's very easy to overbook your activities for the day." And I know teenagers ain't, because remember, you're teaching teenagers here in this course. And teenagers don't, carry planners around for the most part, right? A lot of adults don't even carry a planner. They don't care about all those things. They just know tomorrow. They think tomorrow's coming and they're going to spend their day, the way they need to spend their day. Well, and they know they got to go to school and they know their schedule at school, etc. But they don't really plan their activities. It's just kind of like whatever takes place, takes place. But it says, carefully consider the most important things you need to do for the day and make a schedule that includes how much time each activity would take. Okay, so that takes a little bit of effort on your part, to make yourself a little chart or write it down on a piece of paper, break it down, this hour I need to do homework. This hour I can spend, doing chores. This hour I can do these couple hours, or this hour I can spend, taking my bath for the next day or whatever else, I know when I was growing up, my dad was a real stickler for that. We had a schedule. We had a schedule at home. Everything, we knew what time everything was going to take place. There was no surprises in my family. My dad ran it. I hate to say it like military time, but it was like clockwork. Everything was like, you just knew, Of course, I'm not saying that it was time well spent, but I just knew, like, for instance, at 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, we were going to have a meal together from 5 to 7, and I knew at 7 o'clock it was Disney hour from 7 to 8, and then I knew from 8 to 9 it was shower time, and then I knew at 9 o'clock I need to have my clothes at the end of the bed for the next day, and it was time to go to sleep, okay? It was just like clockwork, everything, okay? And I'm not downing it. I think it was great that I learned those things when I was young, that to be so organized, and it did help in a lot of ways. Because to this day, I still try to be organized like that. And I appreciate those things that my dad instilled in me like that. And I don't appreciate the Disney hour, but, my dad did the best he could with what he knew. Okay, he had to have an hour to talk to my mom, and he just put us in front of that TV set, and that was it. So let's go to the next. Let's go to that visual. I think it's the same one. Okay. So it says, carefully consider the most important things you need to do for the day and make a schedule that includes how much time each activity would take. If you stay focused on your schedule, you can make time your friend instead of your enemy. Like it shows in the book, the boy pulling out his hair. I remember the one lesson where the boy, he was very disorganized, and it showed, here's what a disorganized world looks like. The boy's, his alarm clock didn't go off because he didn't set it or whatever, and he gets up and his bus is coming and his hair's all not combed, and he's grabbing all of his stuff because he's got to run to the bus stop, and he's all upset because, he's running late. And well, that's the world of a disorganized person. Right? Pays to be organized. It pays to learn to be organized even when you're young. There's nothing wrong with learning those values and those skills of time management when you're young. And you just have to apply yourself. But you have to give, how many classes do you think they're given in junior high about time management? You think they have any? Well, they would if they called the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program and they ordered the books, they could teach it. Like I'm teaching it right now. They could learn, time can be your enemy or your friend. And they could learn through the teachers at school, how to effectively use their time. And so there would be a lot less problems at school, too, because children would be learning to be responsible, to get their homework done, to put aside time, have your fun time at a certain time, but make sure you do what you need to do versus what you want to do first. Okay? That's what they need to learn to do. That's what all of us need to learn to do, because adults are no different. So let's go to the next visual. Okay, and it says the basic steps to making time your ally or your friend are, number one, know your needs versus your wants. Okay, we're going to talk about those. These are the steps we're going to be over in the following pages. We're going to be going through all these things. Know your needs versus wants. Prioritize, schedule, organize, and focus. These are the basic steps to making time your ally. Know your needs versus your wants. Prioritize. In other words, what's more important? What needs to get done first? What is the most important thing for me to finish now? Okay, and what can wait for later? Schedule, organize, and then focus. Focus and use the self-control skills we learn in the Peaceful Solution to get it done. Because, focus is something that young people and even older people right now are lacking. The ability to focus is extremely low because of the, we talked about, the author had told us, I think the average child has the attention span of a goldfish, which isn't very long. Because of the fact they spend a lot of time on social media looking at a screen. And I told you, I look at a screen hours a day, and my eyes get, it's difficult sometimes for me to read. Like, first of all, I can't focus on anything unless I have glasses. But even then, sometimes I'll be reading something and I'll get through, a couple lines, and I'm like, I got to go back and read that, because what did I just read? My comprehension, sometimes I have to read it twice because my mind gets a little bit scrambled at times because of looking at this pixelated screen. Okay, so I can just only imagine what young people are going through, the hours and hours and hours they spend looking at their phones. Parents, why do you think they have to have that thing? I understand, other parents are doing it. Kind of reminds me of one time I was at a high school, outside of a high school, and I was watching parents drop their children off at a high school in Laredo, Texas. And I just wanted to see how the parents kind of interacted with the children. Well, this one mom pulls up and she's got a whole car full of teenagers. Looked like her daughter and all her friends got a ride with mom, right? And, mom was doing things that mom shouldn't have been doing, throwing trash out the window, but trying to be like the teenagers, trying to be like the young people, trying to be cool, right? Trying to be cool, I guess you could say. Trying to fit in. And it just kind of reminds me of what some parents I know are going through. They kind of feel like, well, all the other parents are giving their children these things, and, I don't want to be the odd man out, My child's going to say, well, all my other friends got a phone. Yeah, but all your other friends got a lot of problems too. Okay? I had a student that was only 8 years old in the Peaceful Solution, and his mother said that she gave him a phone, and he was on that phone. She found out he was on that phone like all night talking to his girlfriend, when she thought he was sleeping. He used to go to bed at 8 o'clock. He was only like 8. He'd go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, and she thought he was in his bed sleeping. Because, she told him, don't be calling anybody on your phone. Make sure you don't use your phone after 8 o'clock. Yes, Mom. Gets under his covers, talking all night. You know how it is. So now, I know a lot of parents, they'll take the phone from their child at night, so they don't use it. Because they haven't quite learned how to haven't quite learned to be honest yet and follow instructions or show self-control. But the fact is, parents, you shouldn't even be giving your child a phone at that age. They need to be trained in moral character education like we're being trained in the Peaceful Solution thoroughly before you hand them something like that. And I've said it, I'm going to say it again. I don't care who you think you are and what you think your children do or not do. Children are children, okay? And you give them a phone, you're not just giving them a phone. A phone was when I was growing up. We had a phone, a rotary phone on the wall, that you dialed, and it had a cord that only went so far. And you had a mom listening in the other room, on her line, Could always hear that click, so you knew mom or dad was listening, right? Not so anymore. What you're giving them is a computer. What you're giving them is a movie theater where they can, they could go anywhere in the world, talk to strangers on social media, which, the children lie, because when we were doing the internet safety class, we asked all the third graders, so how many of you have a Facebook account? All their hands shot up. Well, how's that? You have to be 13 to have a Facebook account. We lied. You lied? That was okay? And you know what the teachers were doing when we asked them? They're all giggling. And they're on their phones while we're giving the class, the teachers. We was in a gymnasium type setting, and they're all sitting there on their phones doing this, and they're all laughing at the children, because the children are telling them, that they lied to get a Facebook account. We don't see a problem with that. Well, it's not a really bad lie, because, come on, it's just getting a Facebook account. I mean, people lie and stuff, right? No, it's setting a pattern of being dishonest. Okay, if you're going to lie about that and you allow your child to lie and you promote that lie, well, when they lie to you about something else, who do you got to blame? Don't blame them. You taught them, well, it's okay to lie. Kind of reminds me another scenario. I got to draw from some scenarios in the Peaceful Solution where I was at a pre-kinder event in Laredo, Texas. I had a booth set up showing all the Peaceful Solution material, and it was on a Saturday morning, and there was a bunch of young people, a bunch of little 5-year-old or 6-year-old girls with pom-poms and short dresses, dressed like cheerleaders. And they were all dancing, and, the parents were all taking pictures and everything. And the music, the lyrics and the music went something like, you can touch me if you want to, but only if you do this or that. And I'm like, the one lady, there was only one lady there that was in the booth next to me. She goes, are you hearing what they're singing? Because all the parents were sitting there taking pictures of the children dancing, and they were dancing to very sexually suggestive music, and nobody thought anything about it. This was a school district that put this on, for the children, and it was a pre-kinder event, and they're dancing to sexually explicit music, and the parents are all taking pictures, and only one lady asked me, do you hear what's going on there? And I'm like, yeah, it's horrible. That's why we need the Peaceful Solution so bad, But yeah, I mean, these are the kind of things that go on. I mean, it's like we're not thinking. It's like we're not thinking of the end result of what we're actually allowing these children to do, or we're allowing them to listen to, and et cetera, et cetera. Remember, it's kind of like, well, isn't it cute? They're 5 years old and they're in love with each other. Isn't that cute? they want to marry each other when they get, when they turn 18. So I might as well let them kiss and hold hands. They're only 5, but that's okay. They're going to marry each other when they're 18. You see how this is how silly it becomes. This is how ignorant we've become. That we don't see anything wrong with these things. And we need to start seeing it for what it is, because we need to start seeing what it's leading to. Chris, Catan, David, myself have shown you, gone to extremes to show the STDs, the abortions, the divorces, the school shootings, all these things that are taking place as a result of us not being responsible for our children and teaching them responsibility as well. Okay? And I'm not blaming the parents in every situation, because I know they too just need to be trained in moral character education. So I'm hoping they're going to tune into our one-day event, our Peaceful Solution one-day event. By the way, I'll go ahead and promote it right now. We'll be on March 31st, 2024. It'll be streaming live on Facebook. So hopefully, whoever's out there that's listening will join in, so you can see. We're not just going to be telling you the problems. We're going to be showing you the solution to these problems, because there is a solution to all the things that I'm talking about. But we've got to take action. We've got to start somewhere. We got to stop pretending like everything's okay. No, not my family. They would never do that. I can give my child that phone. He's a responsible young man. Okay. Well, unless you trained him thoroughly in responsibility, no, he's not. Okay. Responsibility comes through practice. Okay. And yeah, they can make responsible choices at times, but then they can make irresponsible choices the next second. And unless you're making responsible choices consistently, you're not responsible yet. Okay? Or I, etc. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so on page 67, wants versus needs. Hold on, let me go back for a second, because I don't want to skip anything. Yeah, 67, wants versus needs. Let's look at that. So it says the first step in managing your time effectively is to learn the difference between what you want to do and what you need to do. Then, things that you need to do are necessary in order to function effectively and meet your obligations. Things that you want to do are those things that, if you're honest with yourself, are not that important and may in fact hinder you from fulfilling your obligations. For example, your father asks you to mow the lawn. Just as you are about to do this chore, your friend calls and says that his brother is giving him a ride to the park and asks if you want to come. The answer that takes into consideration what you need to do, which is to do your chore as your father has asked, would be no. Okay? Because you have an obligation, right? Your father asks you to mow the lawn, you have an obligation to do so. Unless, as we learned in the self-control unit about authority, remember we talked about how you don't argue with the authority. If the authority asks you to do something, there's nothing wrong with you saying, hey, Dad, can I mow the lawn after me and my friend do this thing we want to do? And if he says, okay, yeah, we can wait till after it's done, then that's fine. But if he asks you to mow the lawn, and then you ask him, can I go do something else? And he tells you, no, you need to mow the lawn like I told you, then you don't need to argue with him about it. Just be obedient, fulfill your obligation, then you can go do the things you need to do. Or you want to do, sorry, not what you need to do. What you need to do is mow the lawn. What you need to do is be obedient, okay, and follow the instruction. What you want to do has to wait, okay? Okay, so let's go to the next. Wait a minute. No, don't go to the next. I want to go ahead and continue to read here. It says, of course, going to the park is far more appealing than mowing the lawn, so you might ask your friend if you wouldn't mind waiting an hour while you complete your chore. You could also ask if he would like to help you so you can leave earlier, or ask if he could go the next day instead. By focusing on what you need to do and making other arrangements for what you want to do, you can begin to responsibly manage your time. Remember, everything begins with, as we learn in the character unit, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with what? One step. So, in order to using an analogy of lifting weights, to become stronger, if you make the responsible choice of doing what you need to do instead of what you want to do, then you're strengthening your ability to be responsible in that one instance. And if you do it that one time, you can possibly do it the next time, because it just takes, everything starts with a single action. If you want to get, the hardest part is always getting started on something, and but the more you do it, the more you put aside what you want versus what you need to do, you're going to get stronger. You're going to become more proficient at managing your time appropriately. Okay, but it takes a single step. It takes that one action. Okay, so it says, here's another example. You need to study for your midterm exam, which is scheduled for tomorrow. A bunch of your friends are going to the planetarium to watch the meteor shower and ask you to go. You need to study, but meteor showers are rare and you want to see the show. The responsible thing would be to go to see the meteor shower, but come straight home instead of staying to hang out with your friends, so you have time to study for your test. Okay, it says, so go ahead and put up the last visual I have there. Understanding the difference between what you want to do and what you need to do takes careful thought and being honest with yourself, especially when you're a teenager, it's hard enough to be honest with yourself sometimes when you're an adult when it comes to wants versus needs, right? But it can be done if you learn the difference. Like, for instance, you need water, you need a roof over your head, you need to have clothing, and you need to have healthy food to eat, right? But do you have to have chocolate chip cookies? Do you have to have toys? Do you have to have video games? Do you have to have ice cream? Well, it's nice to have ice cream, right? I have to have it. Well, I want to have it. I don't have to have it, but I want to have it. But what if I don't have the money in my last $10 I want to use to buy ice cream, and my child needs diapers? Should I go out and get the ice cream, the Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia, or should I get the diapers? Yeah, because I need to get the diapers because my child needs to be changed, right? The Ben & Jerry's is great. The Cherry Garcia I love it. I'm not trying to promote it, and if they want to pay us, the Peaceful Solution takes donations for me promoting it. That can wait, right? We have to learn the difference between what we need versus what we want. And a child can be taught the same thing, just like adults can be taught the same thing. So it says, you have to stop, think, and then make the right choice to be responsible. So you see, it takes self-control. In other words, it takes self-control. There will always be fun activities to pull you away from the things you need to do. This is why you must be willing to practice self-control, because having fun should never come before fulfilling your obligations to yourself and to others. And remember, an obligation is something that you're bound to do. It's binding that you do it. You gave your word to do it, or you're expected to do it because, like, it's homework that you're expected to turn in, or it's a chore that your parents have assigned you. Those are things that you're obligated to do. You're obligated to follow the instructions that you're given, and once you're done with the things that you need to do, then you can get the permission to do the things that you want to do, or have the things that you want, that you would like to have. if there's something that's beneficial for you, right? And if it's appropriate time, etc., right? Your parents will know that. Your parents, they're your guide, you know. And young people, your parents are really the best friend you have, okay? They're trying to guide you in the best way that they know how. And so you need to do what they tell you to do. As long as they're not asking you to break any of the peaceful solution rules, do what they say. You know, that includes your teachers and the other authority figures as well. So I think that's where we're going to stop tonight. We just finished page 67. We'll be picking up on, David will be picking up on page 60, what is that? 68? 68, yeah, 68. Next class. And then the next class will be on 3/13/2024 at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. We hope you'll join us. It's great seeing everyone. Have a great evening. Keep coming. It works.